Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this review. The fact that you are willing to sacrifice a few minutes out of your day to consume my content really does mean the world to me. For those of you that are unaware, I review everything that gets released on Netflix. So if you're ever curious about whether a new movie, series or show is any good, come to my channel and I will let you know. Today we're going to be talking about the new Netflix series Archive 81. Which honestly felt like a roller coaster ride. I'm going to break that down in greater detail later on, but let's give you a rough breakdown of what the story is about. Ultimately, we have an archivist who's hired to restore a bunch of different videotapes. And while he's busy repairing these tapes, he's busy reviewing them, he starts to notice a mystery that's unfolding in front of his very eyes. And ultimately, this decade-long story comes to light through these once thought lost tapes. And so ultimately we follow this man as he's repairing these tapes, he's trying to solve this mystery, and his entire life turns upside down. And I'll say this, I mentioned a roller coaster because at times the pacing is just all over the place. I will have to be 100% honest with you, the first few episodes I really struggled to find any engagement with. I really struggled to start enjoying the show. But then from episode 5 onwards, I was hooked. There's this massive climax event that happens. It's incredibly engaging. It's incredibly intoxicating. The visuals are so startling. I literally rewatched the scene 3 times, grossing myself out in the process. But it was so expertly shot. And from that scene onwards, I was so engrossed in the story. And then in the final 2 minutes, it just dipped again. And when you watch the series, you'll understand. I don't want to give you any spoilers whatsoever, but that's definitely my relationship with this series. I wouldn't say boredom, but an inability to engage with the story, complete excitement, and then at the very end, there's just an incredibly harsh dip in engagement. But when this series goes, it goes hard. This is an incredibly unique story. I gave you such a small snippet of what the story actually entails because this is a massive story. 10 episodes, all of them almost an hour long, and it looks like we're going to get a season 2 as well. That is the scope of this story that we're talking about. It's massive, it's larger than life. And besides those pacing issues, I thought this was a phenomenal series. Definitely the point that sold me on this entire viewing experience was the soundtrack, the original score, the audio. Incredibly unsettling. This series in many ways feels like a horror. I would never say it was a horror. I never once, got scared in my seat. But there were definitely horror elements, and the most terrifying aspect of this entire series was the soundtrack. I don't think I've ever felt more uncomfortable in my life through visuals alone as I did throughout specific sequences in this series. So that was phenomenal. That blew my mind, in fact. I was so tense, so nervous throughout majority of the series. Looking back, I'm thinking, why? That scene went in a completely different direction to what I was expecting. But that's just such a testament to the skill and the direction that was put into the audio for this series. Then I want to talk about the cinematography. We had this incredibly uneasy sound with the audio, with the soundtrack. And so we have this incredibly uneasy feeling with the soundtrack and the audio. And that blends perfectly with the visuals in the series. We have this very subtle shaky cam. There's very few stable shots. Everything is kind of swifting and moving. And that helps build this uneasy tension. Not only that, the color grading is incredibly dull. There's no vibrant colors. It's just dull, muted, feeling very unearthly. And when you're dealing with a series like this, that's definitely the mood you want to create. It's not a warm, welcoming mood. This is a very cold, aggressive mood that's created through the color grading. I mentioned how I absolutely loved the audio, but I think another thing that works really well with this series is the fact that we actually work with 2 different timelines. I mentioned how we ultimately have this archivist who's busy repairing stuff, that's the primary timeline, and then we have the recordings that he's busy watching and reviewing, and that's the past timeline, the secondary timeline. But these two start to blend into each other as we, the viewer, start to consume this content. And as we're busy watching the series, we see how they start to impact each other. That was beautifully handled, and it was acted out perfectly by the performers. The actors really brought the script to life. And I'll say this, even though I was complaining about the first few episodes, feeling like I couldn't really engage with anything, that definitely didn't have anything to do with the actors. They were phenomenal from start to finish. They were gripping. When they were terrified, I felt it. When they felt this moment of relief, I felt it. My entire body was able to relax and recover. I had like a full body experience while watching this series. So yes, guys, I would definitely recommend it. I thought it was brilliant, but those pacing issues really made it incredibly difficult to start getting invested in the story. But if you're able to push through those first few episodes, which is actually a big ask, I did mention the number of episodes as well as their duration. It is a large chunk of time you've got to dedicate before you can really feel like you're getting engaged straight away. But when you do get that engagement, when that series gets its hooks into you, you don't want it to stop. You want to keep watching, keep watching, keep watching. And that's definitely how I felt. But guys, thank you so much for watching this review. It really does mean the world to me. Leave a like if you haven't yet, and I hope to see you again in another review.